I was very silent. I've never known myself to be so silent. It was just so, strange. It was raining. As a matter of fact, it was more than raining. It was pouring rain. I remember floating through the night, not awake, not asleep. Couldn't sleep with the pain, but I don't think I could have anyway. I had no hunger. I had no thirst. When the morning light came, the voice said to me, "There's somebody at the door. Open the door." I opened the door and there's two people standing there. An Englishman and his girlfriend from India. It was his chart that burned on the fire. He's standing there. He's got this deeply confused look on his face because the two of them were on the way to France. They had already gone across on the ferry and suddenly felt compelled to return to see me, not knowing why. As they're standing in the doorway, the voice tells me to let them in. So I let them in. It was very odd. She sat in the chair beside my dog, the one that didn't move, didn't breathe, never noticed. He sat at the other end of the platform from me. And then the voice said to me, "You tell him precisely what I tell you." Okay. No arguments from me. Tell him about the crystals of consciousness. So I told him about the crystals of consciousness. And after I had told him about the crystals of consciousness, the voice said to me, "Now you tell him that you can give him the crystal that belongs to him." So that's what I told him. And the voice told me to tell him to come back that evening. Oh, that's what I told them. And the voice told me to throw them out, and that's what I did. When I closed the door, I went over to the desk. I was to get my first taste of, well, what would be the concrete magic of my experience. I got to draw a body graph. It was an incredible experience. I couldn't feel, I did it with pencil. Couldn't afford ink. Couldn't feel the pencil in my hand. And here is this strange thing, whatever it was, describing to me how to do this, how to draw it, where to put everything, the numbers, all of it. Incredible. That night, they came back, just as they were told to do. And I invited them in, and we closed the door. And she went over and sat down by the desk, as before. And he and I would sit on the platform, and I collected between us all of those things from the night before. The leather chessboard and the coil, and the books. I put on the shroud. I put on the cracked mask, and I gave him the other mask. And I put the herbs on the fire, and the room filled with smoke. And I sat opposite him. Now, madness is an interesting thing. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, after all. None. Like caught in this incredible, choiceless movie. Strange movie. And he looked at me wondering what was going to happen, and I had no idea. I had told him he was going to get the crystal he deserved. And as I could feel his tension, all of a sudden, out of his right ear, out of his ear, came a light. Small, vibrating, three-dimensional white light. And it went straight up in the air. And it came directly over my head and went into my head. And the moment that it went into my head, he began to vomit. And I don't mean gag, I mean a river of it, pouring out of him like, whoa, you don't see anything like that ever. There was an incredible rush of adrenaline. The voice told me to send them away. I told them to leave. She got up and went out the door. He wouldn't move. He was just retching. I can remember grabbing the bed cover that he was on and yanking him from there and literally dragging him out and throwing him into the puddle outside the front door in the courtyard of the ruina and slamming the door behind me. Many years ago, about 3 years after the event, I met this man again. He claimed that I had stolen his Ajna center. Had been institutionalized for a number of years. I have his friend, our mutual friend, who actually was the one who lived in the ruina. He asked me one day what had happened. And so he was a poet. So a poem came out from me. It's called Chase the Laughter. They came on time, expecting, not knowing. Who could have possibly known what's new? Dark breakfast, India, cunt of Shiva, no on, no off, just so. And he too, like a martinet, chaplainess, strutting Oxford stuff, not fools to be taken heavenly, know why? He liked to talk of being, he thought he could see, he knew nothing. They came on time. The tra-la-la players, layers and layers and layers, into the house of the master. Who can run faster, chase the laughter? The Department of Planning is having a get-together, they're very clever. And he was so busy pretending what he thought, he couldn't understand that he crossed the line, he erased time, he was hopelessly mine. Who could have possibly known chasing time down escalators for the benefit of fragile rocks? He cried, thief, thy if. Taking back was the key. Taking back was the key. Look out for the Holy Ghost, superstar, caviar on toast. He was unprepared. Consciousness was spared. He touched the warp at the edge of the center. The family cried, who can enter? 3, you'll agree, is all you ever get to see. 3, you'll agree, is all you ever get to see. Well, we'll see smoke and masks. Pascal's cracked armor, chessboard hexagrams of leather with biblical hands touching. It's all a matter of light. Into the house of the master, who can run faster, chase the laughter. He was left in the dust. Mule. What he bore, he never knew. And what he lost, he could never see. And what he has left is up to me. See? Now where's the laughter? It's from the here and after. Can't you agree that nothing we see is the same for you and me? Can't you agree that nothing we see is the same for you and me? Well, if you can't, here's a chant. Faster and faster. Chase the laughter. Well, it was an odd beginning. See, when I entered into the arena, my name was Ra. And after the event, I would be Uruhu, which is a title. And Uru is this white light. If I close my eyes like now, I see it. I have seen it all these years. It moves. We communicate. It's one of those magical things about the Rave I Ching. All those planets for the exalteds and detriments. I didn't pick them. Uru. Strange thing to live with. 20 years, I live with this strange thing. I have no idea what it is. It's not like it's telling. See, madness is quite a thing. When they left, when they were gone, the process got serious. Yeah, serious. I can remember sitting with my back to the wall, sitting on the platform. Very confused by this thing in me, seeing it, understanding that, well, what to do. And in my almost panic, I suddenly feel so hard to describe. When something takes you and moves you. My head was snapped back. I mean, as far back as you can imagine, further than you can imagine, because it was so far back that there was practically no air going through. And in that moment, 3 lights, like, I don't know. What I do remember is feeling them, because they went directly into my body. I've never been shot, but I imagine that's what it feels like. Or it certainly felt like that to me. It was very unpleasant. I thought I was going to die. I didn't think I was going to survive. I could not breathe. I had this incredible pain in my chest from this penetration. And I could feel these things, whatever they were. I mean, I could feel them inside of me. I don't know what they did. I don't even know if they ever left. Hey? I have no idea. None. All I know is that it was incredibly painful. When it was over, I floated in this kind of no sense of touching anything. And I closed my eyes and I watched this thing. And I realized that it was responsive. And we got to yes and no, up and down movements and circular movements. We would go much further than that. finding a way to communicate. I always thought it would go away, you know? I mean, I live the patina of a relatively normal life, family and stuff, you know? I do constructive, good work in the world. And I got this strange thing inside, never goes away. Always has something to say. Very strange.